How's it? Paul Auger here. I'm a technical director at osh.co today, and I invite you, I implore you, I suggest that you come a little closer, and we talk a little bit about email deliverability. Why is it working? Why isn't it working? Why are emails sent from your WordPress websites going into your recipient's spam mailboxes? Why are your emails being sent from Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 going into your recipient's junk mail? Are they being bounced? Why? You're a good person. Why should it be bounced? All you're trying to do is impart knowledge, and it's being bounced. It's going into junk mail. Well, there's a couple of reasons, and we're going to try and get through all of those reasons in this lesson. Let's jump in. So now, this is a very simplistic diagram of why things are not working with your emails, okay? So you got a sending server, and that could be anything. It could be a WordPress website. It could be Microsoft 365. It could be an SMTP that's been set up on a server, depending on how excited you're going to get. Now, what happens with that? So that goes, and then we've got a receiving server. So now that's someone you're sending it to. So that receiving server checks. It says, are you allowed to actually be sending emails on our behalf? Are you allowed to, if my email address is paul@osh.co today, am I allowed to be sending paul@osh emails? Or is it sort of like, have I not authorized that? So this receiving server looks at my DNS server and says, Paul's sending this from Google Workspace. So it says that the SPF record has a Google Workspace in. So therefore, cool bananas, okay? So then it says, I have passed. Obviously, if I have failed, then it's sort of like, well, move on. But SPF is the first one that we're looking at. And SPF has been around since right at the beginning. And it only really took off in about 2006, 2007, when Yahoo actually said, we're not going to be accepting any emails into our mailboxes anymore unless they pass SPF. Now, that was right at the back of the beginning of email deliverability. So if you've now passed, and it now goes on to the next section, which is reputation and other data. Now, the reputation and other data is basically saying, what are we doing? Have you ever seen an email from this person before? Are they sending out millions of emails and people have reported them as spam? What are the kind of things that we're looking at? Have you warmed them up? Have you ever sort of like sent them a sort of like a hi there email? Have they got an email that confirms their email address? Have they got any of those things? So all of that is coming in there. And then if this fails, then it goes to your junk or spam. If it passes, it goes to your message delivered. So now that's very, very simple. Now, we have been doing email deliverability since about 2009 to 2010, when email deliverability became very, very difficult because all the people that you are sending to start having different ways of monitoring your emails. So we started looking at this, and we started looking at the SPF records. The second one that people normally talk about is what is called a DKIM record. And a DKIM record looks kind of like this. Okay? It says that we are going to send an email with a DKIM signature or a key that's actually attached. Okay? So we're going to send an email out, and then the receiving email server again is going to look at two things. Firstly, it's going to look at the SPF record and say, are you authenticated? Are you authorized to actually be sending this email? Is it coming from a WordPress website with a static IP address? Is it coming from Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, Yahoo, whatever is it's sending from? That's what we're checking first. So we're checking SPF. The second thing it's going to do is it's going to look for, and this is a big word, a cryptographic authentication, and that is what DKIM is. So if you are setting up an email server like Microsoft 365, you can get a DKIM record. So that DKIM record is then, there's two parts to it. There's a public and there's a private key. So the public key is put into your DNS server. So it's put in there and it's put in as a DKIM record. And this then says, I'm receiving this email. Please tell me if this authenticates. Now this is sent with the private key. That then cryptographically checks and says, does this match with the public key? If it matches, full bananas, and the message is delivered. Not really, but that's kind of the simplistic. Hopefully that's how it works. And then the second one is that it says, no, it doesn't match, then it goes into junk or spam. So that's the second one. So we've got SPF and we've got DKIM. Both of those are just sort of like telling the servers. The third one that we're actually looking for is we're looking at a thing called DMARC. Now, DMARC actually is a feedback loop. It actually says, if SPF fails, what do you want me to do? If DKIM fails, what do you want me to do? And that's what we're going to talk about now. The third step of this is DMARC. And what it basically what it basically does is that you as the sender are going to be, if you don't have a beard, please just imagine yourself with a beard. You as the sender are going to be sending the email out into the world. And that world is going to be obviously wanting your info. They're going to be wanting that email. So it's going to go out and it's going to hit the recipient's email server. And the recipient's email server is going to do that couple of checks. It firstly does the SPF record check. It does the DKIM record check. And then the third thing it does is a DMARC record check. So based on those three things, there's what's going to happen to your email. So it says SPF is passed. Cool. DKIM is passed. Cool. And the third one it says is DMARC. So now there are three levels of DMARC. There's DMARC equals none, which we'll obviously get onto now. DMARC which equals quarantine, which is over here. And DMARC equals reject. And that's the third level. So if we're on DMARC equals none, that basically is saying, when I send out an email and my SPF record passes, my DKIM record passes, just deliver it on. Don't do anything to it. If it fails, just deliver it on. So let's pretend it's working and just try and deliver it on. If you've got a bad reputation or your SPF fails or your DKIM fails or you don't even have those, what it's going to do is it's going to say DMARC equals none. It just is going to check. That's all it's doing. It's a monitoring mode. Okay. And what it's going to do is it's going to send these aggregate reports back to a third-party service. We suggest Easy DMARC because with our clients, we have somewhere between 10 and 20 million emails that go out per month. And what it's going to do is it's going to send an XML file back to you that you're going to read and you're going to say, these are all the good parts and bad parts and who's sending and what IP addresses are sending. And it's this massively complicated XML file. So now, that's why we use a third-party service, because if we have to go through 20 million emails, it's going to be absolutely painful and we're never going to be able to get this right. So we send it through to a third-party service like Easy DMARC, and we're going to then say what's actually happening. And it does pretty graphs, which I'll show you now, and it says this is what's happening, these are the IP addresses that are being sent, this has been rejected, this is being put into spam, all of those fun things. And once you've got that, so you've got it sent out, it's checked the SPF and DKIM records over here. It's sent back a aggregate report saying what's actually happened. It then says, okay, if it's a valid email, then it goes to the inbox. Obviously, simplistically again, if you've got bad reputation, but you've got all the other stuff sorted out, then it might not go into the inbox. If it's got a quarantine policy on and it hasn't been authenticated, then it's going to chuck it straight into the quarantine, the junk mail, the spam folder, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be put there. And the nice thing is that once you actually get your DMARC record all the way up to the reject policy, you're going to be able to send out emails and people will not actually worry about your email coming from you and not being authenticated. So if someone's trying to spoof your email, if you're on reject, they can't spoof your email, because if someone's trying to send an email from Russia and using your domain and it's not authenticated, it's going to bounce. It's going to bounce back immediately. It's not even going to get to your recipient. It's not going to get to any recipients, which means it's going to start protecting your reputation, and it's going to start making sure that your particular domain is as clean as possible. So we're about 5 minutes into this, and you might be saying to yourself, but Paul, what does this actually mean to me? We are looking at protecting your particular domain. We're looking at protecting the domain that you're sending emails from. So if your company name is agency.com and you're sending emails from agency.com, do you know whether or not someone else is sending emails from agency.com? No, you don't, because you aren't monitoring it. So that is what we're doing. We're trying to see, one, are you being spoofed? Okay? Are other people spoofing your email address? Because if they are, they might be sending out an email that says, please pay us $100,000 for your invoice that hasn't been paid. That's what's happening on the internet right now. People are having their domains stolen from them, and they sort of have emails going out that says, please pay us this invoice. And it's got different banking details. And it looks like it's coming from your email address. They're also saying, well, we're going to send out 100,000 emails coming from your email address or your email domain, and it's going to be selling Viagra or other spam-related emails. You know you're getting emails like that from other people, and you go, but who are these people? That kind of reputation damage is very, very difficult to recover from. So what my suggestion is actually sign up with a trial of Easy DMARC as soon as you can possibly do it, set up a DMARC policy of none, just so that you can actually start monitoring what's happening with your particular domain. So what is actually happening? Well, in WordPress, there's, let's say, two different types of emails. Let's say there's transactional emails, and let's say there's normal emails where someone is submitting a query or filling in a form or doing all that sort of stuff. You might be sending out newsletters from your WordPress using some sort of... So jumping into the WordPress over here, we have got this particular app, which is called Fluent SFTP. Now, if you've been using WordPress for a while, you obviously know that someone is going to be sending emails from WordPress, whether it's you changing your password, whether it's confirmation of someone signing up for a newsletter. All of those are emails that have to come out from this. Most of you might say, but I'm just using the built-in email service of WordPress. Okay. Calm down. Why is that good? Well, it's free and it's built in and you don't have to think about it. Why is it bad? Well, if you're on a shared hosting, you're sharing that IP address with possibly one or two other websites. And some of the clients that we've taken over have been sharing with hundreds of websites that are all sharing that same IP address, which means that IP address is now associated with your domain. So if you're sending out newsletters from your WordPress and you're using that sending facility, that IP address is now associated with your domain and with a whole bunch of other domains, because that's what Google knows, that's what Microsoft knows, that's what Yahoo knows about who's actually sending that email. They know that that's the domain and that's the IP address. So you want to try and actually clean that as much as possible. So why don't you do this? If you've got a normal SMTP that goes through a pop email account, so you've got a normal email account that you send your emails through, cool, use this. It's a free plugin called Fluent SMTP. I'm not associated with them at all. We just have been using them for a very, very long time. They are the guys behind Fluent CRM. They also do WP Social Ninja and do a couple of other ones. They're very cool, and they have released Fluent SMTP for free to the WordPress community. So what is it actually going to do? Well, let's say you are using AWS to send out emails. You can go into here, go into AWS, send all of this, get all this access keys and secret keys and everything sorted out, and send it out. You can also go through Mailgun, SendGrid, Sendinblue, SparkPost. And most of these, if you're just starting out, most of these have a starting out number of emails you can send per month, per day. You've got MailChimp, which you can send out. You've got Sendinblue. You've got Google Workspace, Elastic Mail, as other SMTPs. So if there's one that you actually don't even know how to get it set up or hasn't been set up through Fluent SMTP, you can use this. And you can go and read the documentation on how to actually get it set up with all of these things using SMTP for your particular host. So now, what is the point of that? Well, you've now sent it out through your WordPress, through a third-party system, like Sendinblue, like MailChimp, like whatever you're sending out. What do you want to do then? Go to specific things like Sendinblue. And when you Google or Bing SMTP settings, Sendinblue, SPF, DKIM, DMARC records, you will get to the blog articles like this. So Sendinblue says that you're going to go in here and you're going to go into your area and you're going to get a DKIM record here. The weirdest blogs of showing you how it all works. Make it bigger. There we go. Much better. Okay. It'll tell you what your Sendinblue code is. There's your DKIM record and there's your SPF record. Obviously, it's going to be different for you. Your DKIM record will be different, but the SPF record, you will probably include this part in the middle here that says include spf.sendinblue.com, and then you will be able to do that. Once you've got that inserted into your DNS records, you can verify and authenticate, and then it should work better. Under MailChimp, for instance, there are CNAME records that you can put in for your DKIM records. They don't actually use SPF. And that brings me to an important part. If you're sending out an email and your DKIM passes, but your SPF doesn't, life is okay. If you're passing your SPF and your DKIM record doesn't, life is okay. Basically, you need to sort of have one or the other. Having both is preferable. I like having both. But if you definitely can't, and you can just have your SPF record, then do that. Just do that. But just so. So MailChimp doesn't have the ability to actually have a SPF record for their normal mail sending. But if you're doing MailChimp as a transactional sender, then you've got this mandrel part over here. So that is quite important. If you're doing it for transactional sending, and obviously depending on what plan you've signed up for, that is important, and you'll have to have that included in your SPF. But if you're just sending it for newsletters and stuff like that, no SPF needed. All of these that you actually can go through over here are quite good. You can look through them. They're quite easy. If you sign up for a Sendinblue account, go in here. There's your from email, there's your from name, there's your API settings, save connection settings, and you're up and running, and it all just works. So you've now signed up for a free account with Easy DMARC. How does this work? So now this is a client of ours that has been running for a while, and the thing that's nice about them is they have a couple of different sending sources. They send from Google Workspace, they send from MailChimp, and they also send from Mailgun, depending on what they actually do. Now, what you'll notice here, and this is an Easy DMARC over here, and they have got these ones where we had DMARC equals none to actually try and figure out what was actually happening with their particular domain. And what you'll notice is that orange is bad. Not as bad as red, but it's bad. Okay. And when they sent out this email, they sent out 3,200 non-compliant email addresses, well, emails. So all of those people, we didn't know how many were actually hitting those people's inboxes, how many were going to spam. And we did a test with a couple of other providers where we actually found that they were having a delivery rate to the inbox of about 22%. Not great. Okay, you're spending this amount of money, this amount of time getting all of these users to send emails to them, to tell them about stuff, to sell them stuff, whatever you're actually using your newsletters for. And 22% are actually getting your emails. Well, that's not great. That's really not great. So what we've got over here is you can see that they were sending other stuff here. They were compliant, and then non-compliant was 73. And then you see once we actually got them sorted out and clean and everything like that, they now can send compliant emails 3,200, 3,600, 3,800, and all of those, based on the third-party app that we're also looking at, they had a delivery rate of about 98% into the inbox. So if that's something that you're looking for, these are the kind of things that you actually have to get your records clean. SPF, DKIM, and start getting your DMARC. So if we scroll down here, you will see at the bottom, they've got MailChimp, and this is for the last 90 days. MailChimp, they've sent out 28,590 emails. Google Workspace, they've done 8,000, and Mailgun, they've done 476. So over here, it says the SPF 0% pass, the DKIM is 100% pass, and Google Workspace is 97 and 85, and Mailgun is 100 and 100. If we go into MailChimp here, over here, you'll notice that when we scroll down, you will see all the passing and failing things. Now, the reason why these were all passing and failing was because we hadn't sorted out those particular sending sources yet. So if you go into this and you go into Easy DMARC, this little cog over here, there's configuration instructions, which is actually quite cool. So if you go into this, if it's a known provider, they normally have documentation and links to that. So MailChimp uses its own domain for mail from address, and the SPF update is not required. But go to the DKIM configuration, and if you click on that, it'll go straight through to the page on how to actually get it sorted out. So there's no even thinking involved. All you do is you get yourself set up with your MailChimp or your Sendinblue or your Mailgun or whatever it is, and you get your SPF and DKIM records sorted. So all of these other ones, if you go down here, you will be able to see every single thing and see what's passing, what's failing, and then you'll be able to do filtering. And you say, what is actually filtering? So you can say, I'm looking for authentication pass, underlined, or just the server SPF domain for calendar servers bounces. And if you go into that and say apply, it'll say the SPF doesn't pass because it's actually sending the calendar from a different address, but the DKIM record passes. And that's why I told you that SPF or DKIM, as long as one of them authenticates, life is good. You'd like to have both, but unfortunately, that's the way that Google sends their calendar servers, well, their calendar invites from a specific folder like that. So what are the next couple of steps? I can actually hear you. I can hear you shouting into the screen, Paul, I want to test now. I am so scared. I'm worried. I'm calm. Ooh, okay. So what do you want to do? You want to see if you're actually at risk. You want to see what's sort of like how your emails are looking right now. Perfect. There are two options I have for you. One is mailgenius.com and the other one is mail-tester.com. Why I'm not just giving you one? No, because I actually like both of them. They sort of like give you different information and they're both quite good. So basically what they do is they give you these test email addresses. You're going to copy those and you're going to copy that. And then you're going to check your score. You're going to see how well you're actually doing. You can do this in your Google Workspace. You can do this in your Microsoft 365, whatever you want to do. Plus, go into your WordPress website, add a new user or a new newsletter person as this email address, and then send it and then check your score. So let's just go and try this and say, copy that. Let's go here and say that and push send. Let's go here, copy this one, and then let's paste that one in. And let's say send. And then let's go here and say, see your score and see your score. So now this is a client of ours that I've opened up their report so that you can see what this can actually give you. It can say whether or not your domain's on blacklists. Okay, so you go here and it says that your domain is on these blacklists, and you can go and look at abuse and you can go and see this is a very, very difficult problem. So that's one thing that you need to sort out right now. Your IP address, your mail servers on blacklists. There's body blacklists in terms of your emails that you might be linking to. You're not using the best HTML practices. Your DMARC is not set up with the best practices. It tells you step by step what things you actually need to get sorted out. And this one, it says you don't actually have an unsubscribe. Now this one was actually just sent from a normal Google Workspace email address, so it doesn't have an unsubscribe. So you can just ignore that if you're going to that. But if you are sending out newsletters, please make sure you've got that. Then it says that the SPF and all of these are great. Okay? And then over here under Mail Tester, it says here, there are a couple of problems. Okay? Your message could be improved. So if you go into this, it says here, it doesn't have an unsubscribe header. So same thing again. They're on 3 blacklists and they've got 6 broken links in their things. So all of those are actually going to tell you specific things about your sending and whether or not you have any issues and what happens to your specific emails. So do yourself a favor and right now, no, not right now, just now, after this video is complete, go to these 2 websites. Go and email yourself on these and see how bad it is. It could be fine. It could be absolutely fine. Anything above 7 is okay. 9 or 10 is what you're actually aiming for. If it's going to be reduced by the fact that you're not doing an unsubscribe header or an unsubscribe link and you're just sending from a normal email, that's okay. But check both of these and see what you're actually doing. But let's now go on to the last couple of things to see how you can actually get your email deliverability as good as possible. A couple of tips, and obviously this will be downloadable and we can actually go from there. So thanks so much for paying attention and sticking around. This is now the email deliverability guide that we've promised. It is obviously downloadable, so you can play with it for yourself too. Obviously, this is going to go why you need DMARC, why you need to have email deliverability, all the stuff we discussed already. Did you know that 85% of the people who open your emails open it on a mobile device? 85%. That means that is 3 times more than the desktops, and that's how it's being viewed. So if you are sending an email, a newsletter, and it's not formatted for mobile, people are going to go, not very exciting, delete it, whatever. And that's going to ruin your reputations. That's going to ruin your open rates, because the next time they send it, you're going to go, well, it's not properly formatted, just delete it, and it's not going to be opened. Your sending provider then is going to say, it's not being opened, you need to start cleaning this up. Going into that now, clean up your email list. You might say, well, I've got 10,000 people on my email list. Good for you. You're paying for 10,000 people to be on your email list. If only 1,000 of them are actually opening it and actually involved and actually part of it, clean up the rest of it, because the rest are actually damaging your deliverability rate. So clean it up, clean it up. All of the big email service providers that you're dealing with should have the ability to say, this one hasn't opened the last 3 emails, the last 10 emails, whatever it is, clean them up. When you're looking at the content, you need to make sure that your content is actually not just one big image that's sort of like got text on. That's how spammers actually do it. You need to have a combination of images and text. That is how you actually get into your inbox better, or even just plain text. It's a bit boring though. Don't just do one big image with an unsubscribe at the bottom. You're going to have horrendous deliverability rates. When you are talking about unsubscribes now, make sure that you have an unsubscribe on every single email that you're sending out. Obviously, if you're sending it from Google Workspace or 365, then you can't or you don't. But every single newsletter, if you've got an email that's going out and they push unsubscribe, make sure that they have actually unsubscribed and it's working. The number of people where you click on the unsubscribe and it goes to a 404 page, or the number of people where you click on unsubscribe this month and then the following month they've pasted you into MailChimp rather than Sendinblue or whatever it is, and then you have to unsubscribe again. Then it starts upsetting me. Then I start going, no, I'm not unsubscribing anymore. I'm reporting you. I'm sort of like reporting that you are actually spam. Okay? And then when you're looking at this, also make sure that you do a double opt-in. If someone wants to get your newsletter, say, send it to them, confirm, and that is one of the first places that they go, they've interacted with this email, they've interacted, which means it's actually then Google, Microsoft, all of them will say, you've interacted with this email, you've said I'm in, therefore it actually starts going into their inbox because they've interacted with the email. Short URLs, bit.ly, tiny URL, whatever it is, do not use them to link stuff. I understand that sometimes you want to use them to click through and sort of like to have people tracking your links. Use Google Analytics rather, or UTM parameters, because using a short link, most of the big providers actually class that as spam. So it means you're like hiding your URL. So don't do that. Authenticate your email. So if you're looking at any kind of email service provider, make sure SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Okay? The DMARC providers, obviously, we can help you with that. Or if you want to do it yourself, these are the people that we suggest. There's Easy DMARC. Mimecast does DMARC Analyzer. ValleyMail does a good free version. Problem is that you don't get as many reports and you don't get as many data retentions and things like that. The Martian is very good. On DMARC is now owned by Redshift, so you can do them. And Agri is also very good. If you do have any other ones that you enjoy, that you've used before in the past, carry on using them. But make sure you do some research. Make sure that their reporting is good, that their data retention is good, that they're GDPR compliant. Whatever you need to be working with, make sure that it all works. I often get asked what email deliverability services we recommend. There are quite a few out there. They're not the cheapest, but these are the ones that are the best. Bright Verify basically has bought most of them. And yes, it owns sort of like so many of them now. And they're very good. But basically they seem like a bit of a monopoly now. Block Apps and Email and Acid also give you the same kind of functionality. Check them out, see if there's a trial, see if you can actually play around with them and see if it actually works for you. Because if you do have any questions, please reach out. There is a lot of stuff that we can deal with it on. If you're battling with anything, please reach out. In the Q&A now, on the email, all@osh.co.za. That is my personal email address. Please make sure that you get in contact with anything. If you do have any questions, let me know. If you do have anything else that I haven't covered and you'd like to sort of like have a meeting with us, please pop me an email. But thank you so much for your attention. I hope this made sense to you. Please make sure that you go through all of the downloads so that you can get all the information for it. But thank you so much.